to give you a phrase that I think is vitally important. Jot this one down. This is really how it gets better. This is really how your adventure and achievement can begin when you understand this. The major key to your better future is you. Sure, a good company will help, and if the company's got good products, that'll help. If they've got good literature, that helps. If they've got good films, that helps. If they've got training programs, that helps. If they've got good leadership, that helps. If the weather's good, that'll help. If you've got fairly decent neighbors, that'll help. If there aren't tragedies going on in the community, that'll help. If it isn't too hot, that'll help. If it isn't too cold, that'll help. Okay, there's a lot of things that'll help, but they all play a minor role. Here's what really counts. What really counts is you. And Bill Bailey gave me another phrase I have never forgotten. I have used it. I have written it down. I've put it where I could see it every day. For things to get better, you got to get better. For things to change, you got to change. So the major key to your better future is you. The magic is not in the corporation. The magic is not in the marketing plan. The magic is not in the film. The magic is not in the product. The magic is not in the training. The magic is not in the incentives. Let me tell you where the magic is. The magic is in you. The magic is inside. The magic is in a handshake. The magic is in a smile. The magic is in determination. The magic is in excitement. The magic is in compassion, caring, sharing. The magic is in strong feeling. See, that's what starts to make all the difference. That's what starts to change everything. Let me tell you this about your future getting better. Guy says, well, guys, I hope things will get better. I'll tell you what, he'll always be poor. Because, see, it isn't going to get better. I used to always hope things would change, right? I kept hoping the next election, guys, things will surely change then, right? Things will change. Something will change. Something will be better. But I found out, finally, that is not true. It is not going to get better. It isn't going to change. Let me tell you how it's going to be. It's going to be about like it's always been. That's about how it's going to be. About like it's always been. Wet every spring, hot every summer, cold every winter. Sometimes the wind will blow and sometimes it'll be still. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it gets in reverse. Sometimes people will delight you, sometimes they will disgust you. Sometimes it storms, sometimes it's calm. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. The daylight hours show up, and then it turns dark. See, it's going to be about like it's always been. But for your future to get better, you got to change. You've got to grow. You've got to get better. See, I did like a lot of people. I used to blame everything outside for all of my problems. People used to often say to me, Jim Rohn, how come you can't do better for your family? You seem to be intelligent. How come you're broke? Got no money, can't even pay your bills on time. If you used to miss 3 paychecks, you'd be in financial trouble. What's wrong with you? Now, if you'd have heard that as often as I did, you'd have probably did what I did about it. I finally came up with this list of reasons why I wasn't doing well. The weather. I used to blame the weather. Things like the weather. Several months there last winter was really tough. You think you could have done so well? You should have been here last winter. Last January, I was raised up in Idaho. And I blame the snow, rain, sleet, ice, slick roads. How can you get out when the roads are slick? January was really tough. And then I had things on my list like, my parents were poor. What kind of a start's that? Right? Nobody handed me any fortune. And I was raised in the wrong part of the country for great economic advantage. I was raised in a little farm town up in Idaho, and I didn't even have a complete formal education. I didn't have any degrees, get the big money. And a long list of negative relatives always putting me down. And cynical neighbors live around here you wouldn't believe. They wouldn't go across the street to help anybody. They hardly know who lives next door, just selfish, looking out for themselves. Won't loan you money or nothing. That's a pretty good list for being broke, isn't it? Can't pay your bills on time, got no money left over. I thought it was a darn good list. I'd been working on it for years. Then one day I found out it's not what happens that determines the quality of a man's life. It's not what happens. Because you see, what happens to everybody. The same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich, the other stays poor. What's the difference? The difference is what you do about it. Somebody says, yeah, but you don't understand the disappointments I've had. Come on, everybody's had their share of disappointments. Disappointments are not special gifts reserved for the poor. Everybody's got them. Everybody gets disappointed. The difference, what you do about it, see, makes all the difference in the world. It's not the weather. I used to blame the weather. Found out it rained on the rich. Guy's got a $100,000 home, got snow in his yard. That's incredible. How could that happen? See, it's not the weather. It's not disappointment. It's not what happened. It's what are you going to do about what happened. Do you know how long it takes to turn your life around? Completely around. One day. That's all it takes. One day. And there are three major ingredients in that day that could make it one of the greatest days in your life. Number one, disgust. See, sometimes that's what it takes to really start making some changes. Number one is disgust. Disgust with poverty. Disgust with mediocrity. Disgust with just dragging along. Disgust with just getting by. Disgust with the embarrassment of poverty. Disgust with not being able to pay bills on time. Disgust with being under the gun. Disgust with having to deny yourself and your family things they really need. Finally, you have had it. Hey, that could be a great day when you finally have had it right up to here. When a man finally has it with niggling about poverty. A day finally arrives when he said, I have had it. I know my wife's been going to the supermarket, and he said, I know she's there looking at 2 cans of beans, 1 can for 39 cents, 1 can for 37 cents, and he said, I know she's going to buy the 37-cent can of beans, and she doesn't even like the brand. Do you know why she's going to buy the 37-cent can of beans instead of the 39-cent can of beans? Do you know why? To save 2 cents. And the man finally says, I have had it. With that kind of niggling, with walking around on your financial knees, with eating that kind of dust of poverty, I have had it. So number one, to make it one of the greatest days of turnaround in your life, number one could well be disgust. Weary of how it's been. Here's the second ingredient, decision. Decide what you're going to do. If you're going to do something different, decide and get on with it. Make a decision. There's nothing that can turn your life around like a strong decision. Sometimes you've got to take a decision, and especially if you want to get on with change, you have got to learn to make quicker decisions. Let me tell you what indecision is. Indecision is one of the greatest seeds of opportunity. Indecision will steal you blind. Indecision will rob your bank account. After a while, it can become a disease. Indecision can become a disease. And pretty soon the guy knows he's got the disease. He says, well, I know I'm on the fence. But he says, what if I get off on the wrong side? Listen, here's the tragedy with sitting on the fence. While you sit on the fence, the clock keeps ticking. And see, a man's life is used up at the tick of the clock. See, a man's life is the most precious thing he really has. I was talking to a guy on the phone the other day, and I said, what are you doing right now? And he said, just killing time. I said, oh, no. He's only got a little, and he's killing part of it. You know, that's incredible. Don't do that. Make the minutes count. Make the hours count. That's why you should learn to make decisions as quickly as possible. See, after a while, just get off the fence. It doesn't really matter what side. Just get off. Right? Because remember, a life full of adventure in achievement is a life full of many decisions. The ones that turn out to be wrong give you better experience to make better decisions. So remember, don't see how many decisions you can get out of. See how many you can get into. Learn to speed up the decision-making process. It will add years to your life. So the first ingredient is discuss. The second ingredient is decision. The third is action. In the final analysis, you've got to act. You can go through all the other things, but in the final analysis, to move off dead center, to change direction, you've got to act. So see, this is where it all comes from. Personal growth. For things to change, you got to change. For things to be better, you got to be better. You got to grow. And don't blame everything outside. Start looking inside for the answers. Bill Bailey said, one time, the man cried to the universe, "Give me more time." And the universe answered back, "There is no more time. Give me more you." Find out how to get more value out of you. Don't live a preoccupied life. Some people, like I did for most of the years of my life, just stumble along. Just stumble along, trying to find the money to pay the bill. Just stumbling, not learning, stumbling. Don't do that. Watch with interest. I read an article once in Reader's Digest, and the title of it was, "Wherever you are, be there. Take an interest. Watch with interest. Don't let success pass you by without scrutiny. Look it over. See it. And then think about it and apply it." So step number one to personal growth is find out how things work. Here's step number two to personal growth. Go to work. I don't care how much you find out. The next key is action. Remember, on that day of change, number one is discuss, number two is decision, number three, act. You've got to go to work. And Bill Bailey often tells us, he says, look, just find 3 or 4 things that can help your attitude, your personality, that can help your economic future. Just find 3 or 4 ideas, 3 or 4 things, and go to work on them like crazy. And then he said, find 3 or 4 more, go to work on those like crazy. And Bill Bailey always says, caution, don't wait till you've learned 3,000 or 4,000 things. You know why? You'll use up all the time, and you'll wind up smart and broke. Bill Bailey says it's okay to be dumb and broke. But if a guy's smart and broke, that's pitiful. He says, don't let your learning lead to knowledge. You'll become a fool. Let your learning lead to action. You can get rich. The first one, the law of use. Here's what the law of use simply says. Whatever you don't use, you lose. That means if you tie your arm to your body, leave it there long enough, you'll never use it again. It's over. For lack of use, you could lose the use of your arm. The only way to keep the use of your arm is to keep using it. If you quit, you lose. Just remember that key phrase. If you quit, you lose. Now, what's important to understand is the same thing that goes for your arm goes for your brain. That's important to know. The same thing goes for all the human virtues. Ambition, unused, tends to diminish, shrink, forfeit. And it could very well be over. In fact, it might be over before the man dies. Like his arm is now no longer, he can no longer use his arm because he hasn't used it. He may not be dead, but it's over for his arm. The same is true of ambition. Ambition unused deteriorates. It shrinks. It becomes less. Courage, unused, tends to diminish. Compassion, unused, tends to diminish. Strong feeling, unused, tends to diminish. Excitement, unused, tends to diminish. Finally, after a while, there's just hardly anything that'll excite you. There are so many years of disuse that now it's pretty well over. So here's what it pays to do. Take inventory constantly. Make sure that everything you possess in the way of talent, ingenuity, activity, energy, vitality, your brain power, your thinking power, your acting power, your ability, make sure that all of that every day is being used. Otherwise, you are losing, 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 losing. Here's the second law, the law of averages. The law of averages, as taught in the Bible. Here's what the law of averages means. If you do something often enough, if you do something over and over and over, you will get what we call a ratio of results. A ratio. Here is the key to understand about the law of averages. The law of averages will work for anybody who wants to try it. From all that we've known about sales of the law of averages, that is true. If you knock on enough doors, somebody will buy. Some won't be home. Some may not want to be disturbed. Some may have, plenty of what you've got to sell, so they don't really need any. But sure enough, if you knock on enough doors, somebody will buy. I mean, they will buy from a 10-year-old. You can start a ratio going no matter how young you are, no matter how poor you are. A ratio will develop for anybody that's willing to try. Keep on planting. See, that's the key. Get your ratio going. Right? Some people are going to take the world apart. They don't show up at the third meeting. Guy says, hey, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then you can't find it. A guy gets a good idea, and he lets everything else interfere. Little things. Guy says, well, you got to pay attention to all these little things. Yes, that's called the language of the poor. People have the most remarkable ability to major in minor things. Learn not to do that. Learn to do the major things first. Let the minor things slide. Don't do all the list of little things and let the major things slide. Turn your life around on that score. But some people let all of their time get eaten up, and this little plant that could become a money tree, they let it get choked to death by doing all kinds of things. The third law is the law of sowing and reaping. Sowing and reaping. Gosh, for most of my life, I didn't understand much sowing and reaping. Right? I'm just trying to find the money to pay my bills. When am I going to study sow and reap? Okay, here's what it simply says. A little Bible law here that says this. Whatever a man sows, he reaps. It sounds kind of blunt and simple, but that's the way it's stated. Whatever a man sows, he reaps. The first advice I can give you on that is, don't try to beat it. You might as well try sitting on the sun in the morning, keep it from coming up. You'll have better luck. And a lot of these things aren't up for majority votes. Okay, that's good information. You plant pumpkin seeds, you don't get thistles. Okay, Mother Nature won't pull tricks on you over in the corner snickering, pushing you thistles, and you planting pumpkin seeds. She won't do that. A guy can pretty well tell how things are going to work out if he plants with intelligence the 16 hours he's awake. Learn how to invest yourself. That's the key phrase. Learn how to invest you. Learn how to invest your handshake, your attitude, your personality. Learn how to invest your excitement. Learn how to invest your invitation. Learn how to invest your compassion, caring. Learn how to invest your strong feelings. Learn how to invest your time wisely. 16 hours, invest wisely every 16 hours. See, that's how you get the better harvest coming in. Now, if you want to become wealthy, here's the key word to wealth. People. Invest in other people. The master teacher said 2,000 years ago, if a man wishes to be great at anything, let him find a way to become a servant of many people. See, people's where the wealth is. Helping other people's where the wealth is. Guy says, well, I can't be responsible for half the community. About the best I can do is take care of myself. Look after myself. Work hard. Pay my bills. Not be a burden on anybody. Take care of myself. That's about the best I can do. That's a poor man talking. Always will be poor. And his life will not be much of an adventure and achievement. Here's where you can really get going or get in trouble. The way you think. One guy said, it's not my drinking that's got me stinking. He said, it's my stinking thinking that's got me drinking. And that's what can really happen. There's an Old Testament phrase. It covers the heart of the matter. Here's what it says. As a man thinketh, so is he. A man's handshake is the product of the way he thinks. A man's conversation is a product of the way he thinks. The way a man talks is the way he thinks. He talks like he thinks. That's what he wears. That's what he drives. That's where he lives. That's what he earns. That's the size of his bank account. A man's life is a product of the way he thinks. The quality of a man's conversation is a product of whatever gets into his brain. Whatever flows into his brain, out comes the product. And the fabric of a man's life is built from those ingredients that pours into his mental factory. So see, that's what you learn to do. First, shut off the negative. Start substituting the negative for the positive. You know, throw out the trash. You cannot build a dynamic, successful, prosperous, happy, achieving life with trash ingredients. Start making a deliberate attempt to talk about the good things. Listen to the good things. Read the good things. The challenges. The opportunities. Problem solving. Spend as little time as possible on the problem, most of the time on the solution. Now, I'm not saying that you can get 100% positive and zero negative. That just can't be done. But the better ratio you get here of much more positive and as little negative as possible, that's what starts to change the fabric of your economic, social, and personal life. If you keep this positive flow coming in here, some ingredients out of this positive flow can make absolute major changes in your life. Right? That's why you keep this positive flow coming in. There are some ideas that can do absolute wonders with your bank account and your future, if you keep the flow coming in. Okay? Now, some ideas will help you a little, but some ideas, some ingredients are so powerful, they can revolutionize your life and your bank account, make you wealthy in more ways than one. So that's why you keep mining this positive flow of ingredients. And it's the same reason why you also shut off the negative ingredients. There are some negative ingredients that will just kind of keep you poor. Some will just kind of make you limp financially. Some will just kind of, keep you rocking along. And there are some ingredients in this negative box here that will kill you. They'll kill your ambition, kill your desire, kill your strong feeling, kill your compassion, kill you in a very short period of time. Those ingredients are so powerful, you have got to watch like a hawk what gets poured in here. Shut this off, open this up, and watch it change your life.